Welcome to the MattyRocks Experience in the Zoom session interviews coming to you from my home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today I am joined with special guest all the way from Los Angeles, California, musician, bassist, actor, Sean McNabb.
How you doing, Matty? Great to be here.
I'm good, man. Thank you for joining me today. I know this was an interview that's been in the works for quite a while. In 2020, we're getting her done.
Yeah, I'm glad we're getting this done. We just had a pursuit out here, so some things are getting back to a little bit of normalcy here in LA. So,
right on. When the pursuits start happening, you know things are getting real.
Yeah, well, slowly. How's things back there? How's everything in Minneapolis?
Minneapolis is good. Our governor has extended things, continually, month after month. He's drawn it out. He's starting to lighten up on things, but things are starting to get back to normal.
Good. Glad to hear that.
So
everybody's healthy on your end?
Everyone is healthy on my end. All three of my kids, everyone's doing good. Just the only thing that, is affecting us on our end, and thank you for asking, is the mental health aspect with the kids.
Sure.
I'm going through some things with my kids that I've never experienced before.
Okay.
With the school and the learning, the distance learning.
Sure.
And just, staying active on a day-to-day basis. And, but we're working through those things, and, this is new for all of us, and we've got to adjust. Our lives have to adjust.
Exactly. And that's what everybody's doing. We're just trying to figure it out, take it day by day, and do the best that we can,
How are you and your wife doing out there in LA?
We're good. We've been pretty much locked down here at home, just out to the store here and there, but for the most part, we're pretty locked in. She's working from home, so I've been like the hair guy, the stage manager, the camera guy, the sound guy. I've joked with Fox that they're gonna have to give me an associate's producer's credit.
Absolutely. What things, Sean, have you been doing musically to stay active?
Well, I've been listening to a lot of music, which has been great. And it was weird because, when the virus hit, I was on tour with the music of Cream, who is Ginger Baker's son, Kofi, and Eric Clapton's nephew, Will Johns. And so we were out there. We had 15 shows on our belt. It was really just starting to move like a finely oiled machine. And we were on a bus tour. We went through all those areas, the Northwest and, BC and Vancouver and Seattle and some places that were hit pretty hard, so we had a California show. My wife comes out to the show, so happy to see her, giving her hugs and everything. She goes, "Don't be surprised if this crashes and burns." And when you're on a bus tour, you're a little bit under a rock, because the satellite doesn't work all the time. She goes, "Don't be surprised if this crashes and burns." Sure enough, 2 days later, it crashed and burned. Everything shut down.
Wow. Well, that's, man, what a crazy time we're in, for all that to happen to us. Sean, has there been one thing, or has there been anything that you have learned about yourself during this time that maybe you've never really focused on before, or known about yourself?
Well, it does kind of give you a lot of time to reflect. We're not running and gunning like we usually are. I mean, we're trying to stay busy and stuff, but it really has solidified my love for R&B music, which I come from. I'm known for rock, and I love rock, don't get me wrong, but I've really dug into some classics and a lot of R&B music and some jazz on this lockdown, and it's really kind of just reminded me where I came from. Fusion, R&B, of course, rock. But yeah, it kind of, you start looking at maybe your mortality a little bit more. I'm going to be 55 this year, and you start thinking about, wow, I might only have another 20, 25 years left, if I'm lucky.
Right.
So those kind of things have crossed my mind, and I'm sure they cross everyone's.
Absolutely. One thing about this time for me is it's brought out the cooking aspect in me that I never really knew that I had in me. And I love to cook now. And, it's home cooked meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Nice.
And my kids have just been like super pleased with my cooking and what I've been able to do. So
Give me a couple examples of MattyRocks experience, like his best dishes.
I've made some different spaghettis. Last night I made a shrimp tortilla with shredded cabbage and some special sauce. Just little stuff. Stuff that's good for you.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
I've gone back to some of my mom's old recipes from when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
Some certain hot dishes and all that kind of stuff. So I never knew that I loved. I mean, I grew up in a restaurant industry when I was younger, but
Nice.
when you're forced to do it every day, all day, man, it's a really rewarding feeling.
Yeah, it is. And I've been cooking a lot of dinners for my wife and stuff too, and breakfast. And I'm sorry, Matty, let me close this door really quick.
You're good.
Apologies.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I've got my breakfast down, and I cook that usually, which is usually like protein pancakes, eggs, bacon, that kind of stuff. But yeah, the dinner, it's a little dodgy.
Yeah.
But it usually comes together. I'm pretty good on the grill, but I kind of let her handle everything else,
Right on.
Yeah.
Sean, did you make it to NAMM this year?
I did.
What was your NAMM experience like before all this craziness took place?
It was great. I've been doing that for 30 years,
Since '87.
Yeah. Well, we do a lot of playing. We've got relationships with our companies. For me, it's Ampeg, Ernie Ball, EMG, ChromaCast. It's a whole bunch of companies. So we get to hang out with our endorsement people and our friends basically for 30 years. And that's always great. And there's always a lot of playing. That's the best part for me, is that I got to take part in some really cool things like the Ronnie Montrose Remember, the Ultimate Jam, other things like that. And that's always great to see your comrades and play some music, and it's usually for a good cause, and I got to play with Ronnie Montrose for many years, so I'm always on board with that. And that being said, Thursday, we're actually going to do a live gig with like musicians together at Third Encore. It's myself, Keith St. John, Mitch Perry, Dave Amato from REO, and James Kotak, Kingdom Come, Scorpions, all that. So we're actually excited because we're going to actually be in a room together and play, not this Zoom stuff, which nothing wrong with it. But we're very excited. It's for the Monsters of Rock Cruise Facebook page, but that's Thursday at 2:00 Pacific time.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, they call it the Great Industry Get Together for NAMM, and that's exactly what it is. And I just celebrated my 10th year this January.
Right on.
So
you're a veteran.
I'm a veteran now, absolutely. Yeah. And it's it's an honor to be there. It really is.
Yeah, it's very cool. And they always talked about Namthrax and all that. And wow, I wonder how that's going to change things.
I don't think there will be one in 2021.
You don't think so? Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe not.
I'm thinking they're going to probably skip a year.
Yeah.
So
probably the touring too, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't look good.
No, but you know what? We're all in this together. We will get through it, and we'll be back to normal. And maybe take a year, but we'll be back.
I was thinking about like Live Nation the other day, and that big tour that they had with Crew and Leopard, and I forget who else was on it. Maybe Joan Jett and somebody else. But I was thinking about, I think they paid Motley $200 million for the tour. I mean, they got to be freaking out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they'll get it eventually. They'll make their money, but boy, that's a lot of money to put out and then just have everything shut down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sean, if you would take MattyRocks viewers back to the early years of your life in South Bend, Indiana, and give us insight to how music and bass playing came into your life.
Well, basically, my life changed one day. My mother dropped me off at a matinee for the movie Tommy. And it's a very out there avant-garde movie. And I don't know what she was doing, dropping me off to see that as a 10-year-old kid, but she did. I got a cool mother, and I watched the movie, and I didn't understand a lot of it. But one thing I knew is that I loved the music, and that I was just like, oh my God, the music is so amazing in this. And I walked out of that theater that day going, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I correlated towards John Entwistle on the bass, and I just thought he was so cool, the ox and what he did for our instruments was just astronomical. He brought the bass guitar to the forefront, one of the first guys in rock to really do that. But I left that theater that day, Matty, just going, wow, this is what I want to do. And it was very theatrical too. And I was like, oh my God, Anne Margaret, rolling around in baked beans and rock and roll. I love this, And that got me kind of off and running. And, later on in life, I got to know John Entwistle, which was really, really, really cool. Dream come true for me. And it was such a great guy and very supportive. And one day he goes, he used to come to Black Bart gigs. I don't know if you know who that is, but it's Brian O'Neill from the Bus Boys, and I was in his band for a couple of years. But Entwistle would come to the gigs, And one night after the gig, he gave me the compliment. He goes, Sean, you're a good little bass player. And I just was like, oh my God, my hero just told me that I'm okay,
Right
and it was really one of those, oh my God moments, I can die and go to heaven now. But yeah, that's how it all started. And I started playing clubs when I was, I think my first club gig when I was 13. And it was a lot looser back there in the Midwest in those days.
Oh, yeah.
And we opened for our local heroes, Roadmaster, who was this great regional band. And I kind of just modeled myself after those guys. And in the morning, we would go over and meet them at the hotel, and they'd always be like coming out, with their hair a mess, with like hot chicks and everything. We're like, man, those are the guys. Those are the guys we want to be, So, I've always tried to give back to younger musicians that, want to do what we do or want a career in music. And because those guys were the guys that were supportive of me getting into it. So I've always tried to give that back.
Right on. Other than John, who were some of the other musical influences who have helped to shape and make you the bass player that you are today?
Well, of course, Jocko, James Jamerson. I grew up with a little bit of a fusion, like I said before, R&B, Motown, progressive background. Greg Lake, ELP was huge for me. Of course, McCartney and the Beatles. My parents had a great record collection. Dee Murray, who was Elton John's original bass player, big, huge influence on me. And all his influence was Jamerson and, all the great Motown era stuff. And you can really hear it in his playing. But, it was guys like that and Jeff Berlin. And then, then the rock stuff started taking over, Nugent and Aerosmith and Pink Floyd. And I'll never forget one of my brother's friends in the jazz band. My brother was a drummer. He pulled me aside, and he was a horn player, but he was messing around with guitar, and he goes, I got to play you this. It's called Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? And he played it for me, and it just blew my mind. I was like, whoa, kind of like everybody that heard Hendrix for the first time, and that really changed my life too. But I was off and running with a vast bunch of musical experiences that I was being turned on to. So it wasn't just, rock and roll.
Right on. You fast forward to the age of 21 and you take that move from South Bend, Indiana, to the big city lights and lifestyle of the Sunset Strip. What was that experience like? What was that journey like?
Well, it wasn't, I went to Florida first and played in a couple of circuit bands, Bobby Friss and Pinch for several years. And that really, we did the top 40 thing. We did originals too, but we did the top 40 thing, and you play a different club every week. So you'd make a loop of Florida, and these were the days of band houses, and He'd stay in those band houses and play a club for a week at a time, or Wednesday through Saturday. But it really got us going. You know, we did everything, you know, from the Detroit rock stuff to top 40 to the funkier stuff. We did a mix of everything. And that really also helped solidify me. I think especially as a bass player or as a musician in general, you've got to be well-rounded, is my opinion.
Absolutely.
You should be able to play a lot of different things. So I did that circuit thing for 2 or 3, I think about 2.5, 3 years. Then I moved to New York to join this band. I don't know if you remember it, but it was called Soraya.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it was actually called Alsace-Lorraine before that, before they changed the name. So I moved from Florida in the beautiful weather to New York in the winter time and black snow, and, you know, because they had a deal on Polygram, and I was driven, you know, I went out there to make it. And I lasted about 3 months, one winter out there, and things were just taking too long. And I moved back home to Indiana. I left. I just it didn't agree with me then, New York in the wintertime. And a friend goes, you know, if you help me move to LA, you can follow me out there and stay on my couch for 3 months. And I go, 3 months? Okay, I'll do it. I think maybe it was a month, she said. It might have turned into 3 months. But I helped her. I followed her out there in her U-Haul, and she let me stay at her house. It was right by Guitar Center on Sunset.
Nice.
Yeah, I met the Dawkins guys, Rudy Sarzo, all those guys through a friend of mine, Betsy Browning, who took me to the Cat Club, and I'm sorry, the Cat House. Just got to come to this rock bar called Cat House, and that changed my life. You know, I met Frankie Benelli that night, and he goes, "Hey, I was at the right place." It was a God thing, you know. I was at the right place at the right time. And Frankie Benelli goes, "Why don't you come over tomorrow to the Valley, and we'd like to, you know, audition you." And I guess he liked my look or whatever, you know. And so I drove over to the Valley the next day, recorded 2 songs with them, and I got the gig. And I'll never forget being a 21-year-old kid driving back over Laurel Canyon, screaming out the windows, you know, that I had gotten the gig in Quiet Riot. I'm the new bass player in Quiet Riot. You know what 21-year-old kids do.
Absolutely. What an amazing experience. What a great story.
Yeah, I was really, I was prepared. I had the right look. I was at the right place at the right time. I had the talent to back it up. And, you know, it's all the work up to that point put me in that position to be able to handle that right then. Of course, if I got any greener, you could smoke me. I didn't know anything about the business, you know.
What would you say? What would you say would have been your fondest memory or moment with Quiet Riot?
Well, there were many, but we jumped right into rehearsals, and we went off and played Japan Aid 2 with Dio, James Brown. It was a weird bill. Gorky Park, Irene Cara. There was George Duke was on the bill. You know, all these different kind of bands, you know, were on this Japan Aid 2 thing. And that was a really neat, that was like my first really big show, you know, 15, 20,000 people. And it just been clubs and, you know, festival or smaller festival gigs up to that point. But that was a big gig for me. And that, you know, my first gig with them was pretty huge.
Awesome. You've had the opportunity to play with, you know, some of the biggest names in glam metal. Who would you say has been probably your most memorable or influential artist that you've graced the stage with?
Well, there's been so many. I've had a really blessed career. I've been very, very lucky, and there's been so many. Wow, that's
a tough question.
That is a tough one. I gotta say, some of the greatest moments for me were the 2 years that I did in Montrose with the great Ronnie Montrose. You know, I miss that guy every day. He taught me a lot. And I got Wild Mick. I was also in Dawkins at the time, and I got Wild Mick Brown in the band. So we had this slamming trio, Ronnie, myself, and Mick, and Keith St. John singing. And we had, when he was feeling good, he was already had been battling the cancer at that point. But boy, when he was feeling good, there were some nights where Mick and I would just look over at each other and go, wow, we're playing with the guy that wrote these songs, and he always brought everybody to another level, Ronnie. He just had that nature about him. He'd bring everything to another level, so that was one of the greatest. There's been so many, like the Poison tour in '99 with Great White we got to play all the sheds in the United States, and we had a really good slot, and that was a beautiful thing. They hadn't toured in 10 years, so every venue was sold out. That was really cool. There's been so many great experiences. It's hard to narrow it down to one or two.
Absolutely. Well, you just named some really good ones. Sean, you've had well over 35 different music projects that you've participated in, whether it's been recording or, playing, whatever it is. What to you, if you could pick one, has there been one that's been really rewarding to you, that really stands out to you that you've?
Well, I think there's been over 40 now, maybe more, but that first one's always special. Quiet Riot album, that was my first album. And I'll tell you a story about that. We had recorded the album. The album was ready to go. And, of course, every album you do, you put your best work in that you can, because you're only as good as your last project, and we had this great chemistry going on, and we cut a lot of those tracks live, so it had a really nice live feel. And I haven't told this story much, but actually, who was it? It was Ray Gillen and Eric Singer. Both said, dude, you got to join our band. And they were rehearsing at Mates. Just come down. Just come down. I was like, I'm in Quiet Riot. I got my first record coming out. I really can't do that right now. Come on, just come down. You're recommended by somebody else. And I had to just tell them no, And looking back in hindsight, I would have really liked to have been part of Badlands. That was a great band. It's a great record. They ended up getting Greg Chasen, and he's fantastic and everything. But the way that the Quiet Riot thing worked out, I kind of wish that I maybe would have gone to Badlands, but I've never really told that story. So that's an exclusive on MattyRocks.
Right on, and that's what I love. That's what I love. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, but every record's special. I mean, there's been so many. The Great White records, Dawkins, Lynch Mob. I mean, there's really been a ton that I'm really super proud of. The House of Lords. Yeah, a lot. So somebody sent me an email of everything that I had done, and I was like, wow. You don't realize it.
Yeah.
But when you see it on the page, you're like, wow, it's okay.
Some great experiences you've had. I think I first saw you with Dawkins here in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
You're still currently playing with Lynch Mob, but what are some of the other?
I'm not playing with Lynch Mob anymore.
You're not?
No, I left in November.
Oh.
And I had done 8 years, and we did the Brotherhood album a couple of years ago. Really proud of that record too, because we wrote it together, and it had a real cohesive feel and a brotherhood about it. I left Lynch Mob in November.
Okay.
I had been in Lynch Mob back in 2001, 2002, and done a tour back then. Came back this time and done 8 years with George, and I just felt like that it wasn't really going anywhere musically for me anymore. I just felt like it was kind of like we were doing the same thing, and it was time to move on. So I left in November, which opened the door for the Music of Cream gig, which is Ginger Baker's son, Eric Clapton's nephew. And that's been a great experience, playing all that Cream material and Clapton and Derek and the Dominoes and Blind Faith and all that stuff.
I either read it or heard it somewhere about something about Rough Riot.
Yeah, I am in Rough Riot. That's Paul Carlos and myself and Greg D'Angelo on drums.
Okay, that's is there stuff out on that right now, or is that in the works?
There's nothing out. We're putting together some material for that, you know, everything's shut down right now, but we're talking about, we're fleshing out some ideas and things like that. But we do plan on doing a record. We've played a couple of shows. It's the three of us basically from that Quiet Riot album. So we have a nice lineage and chemistry. And we brought Greg in, and things are, that's a great band. If you haven't seen that, you got to see that when you get back to playing.
I'm looking forward to hearing it. And when that rolls out, you know, I've got the internet stations that will play it. So get that music to me and let's get it out there.
Okay, let's do. We'd appreciate the help.
Sean, you've been in the industry for a while. Is there any one thing that you've learned along the way from all your experiences that you've carried with you up until now that have helped you be as successful as you have been?
Yeah, I would say your reputation is everything in this business. You know, you can't be a problem, you know, and let's see, I partied and rolled that way for a long, long time. And 15 years ago, I decided to make a change in my life and get clean and sober. That has helped me immensely, not just in the music business, but just in life in general. You know, I've repaired relationships with people that I thought I would never repair. I've been a lot more accountable at work. When I tell somebody I'm going to show up, I show up, you know, just like you. I was right here at 11:59, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I would say reputation is everything, Matty. And you really, once people know that they can count on you, then that's a good place to be.
Awesome. I want you to think back, the last music question before we move on to Sean McNabb, the actor. Okay. I want you to take kind of a stroll through memory lane of all your accomplishments musically. What would you say is probably your biggest accomplishment musically?
Well, let's see. It was kind of cool getting some solo material out there. I have 2 solo videos out there. It was nice to, you know, being a bass player, often you're a side man or, you know, but I sing, and it was cool. I wrote 2 songs for a movie called Rock Story that they had asked me, hey, can you write a couple songs for the movie? I had a part in the movie. And I was, you know, thrilled to do that. So I wrote a couple of songs for the movie, and they came out, you know, they wanted something kind of commercial, you know, so they're a little poppier than maybe what I would have normally written, but that's what they wanted. So they came out, you know, pretty good, and we decided to make videos for them. So, you know, a lot of guys, you know, they don't ever get anything out there on their own, you know, under their own name, you know, guys that are like me, you know, rhythm section guys or this or that, but I do sing. So I am proud to have a couple of videos out there under Sean McNabb, and hopefully there's going to be some more things coming out eventually, you know, but I was very, very proud to do that. It was a great accomplishment. And to write for a project that I was in as well as an actor and a musician was very, very cool.
Awesome. Awesome. Sean McNabb, the actor. How did the acting career come together for you?
Same kind of thing. I've been around the theater and drama classes ever since I was a kid. And I used to go to Unitarian church when I was younger. And my mom was really into that. And they had a drama program. I got into that very early on. I was always in school plays. I was always in classes and things like that. And then I stayed with that. And then when the music thing took over, that kind of took a back seat. And so about 16, maybe 17 years ago, I decided, hey, I want to start pursuing this again. So I started studying again and joined a studio over in the Valley. And, you know, I've had several coaches since then. But I started studying that craft because it's another artistic platform for me, you know. And I decided that was something I wanted to start pursuing again. Matty, let me just say this. It's very, very tough.
Yeah, I bet.
the music business, some people are like, what, are you crazy? Music business and be an actor? What, you're nuts. So it takes a certain kind of person to be able to handle rejection. We get a lot of it as actors, you can do a beautifully fine job, but there's 3,000 people going out for a role,
Yeah.
So you get a lot of rejection, but I love it. I would say if you're trying to be an actor, don't do it because you want to be famous. Do it because you love the craft. You love to read scripts. You love to know what the inner monologue of that character. I mean, there's so many things, what your moment before was, your inner monologue, your character arc, your obstacles, your objectives. There's so much that go into an actor's performance that most people don't even realize it, and it's very time consuming, your preparation for a role, but to do it right, that's what you've got to do. And I'm studying with a coach, Anthony Gilardi, at the Anthony Gilardi acting studio here in LA. And in the last year, I feel like my craft has really elevated through his mentorship, and to be under his arm is great. He's trained some of the best actors in the world, so I'm thrilled to be over there. But it's just like anything. You just keep trying to improve. You keep grinding. Now I've got a decent IMDb. I've got some credits, but like I said, you're only as good as your last performance. So it's a constant thing to improve.
The resume's long with the acting, but what would you say has probably been the most rewarding project that you've been a part of?
Well, as far as roles, I would say I've got 2 Lifetime movies that I'm really proud of. It's Lifetime. It is what it is. But my roles were significant in those movies. So of course, as actors, we like bigger roles, So I'm very, very proud of those roles. I'm hoping that might lead to some other stuff. Of course, the Sons of Anarchy experience was a great experience for me. I got to be around some of the best actors in the world for a couple of years and watch them and how they carried themselves, how they prepped, how they took their moments before. I got to watch some of the best actors in the world, and that was invaluable experience for me. Also, how to be on set, how to carry yourself, what to do, what not to do. There was a lot of learning curve there. There's a lot of things. That show was such an amazing phenomenon. It was just so well done, from the writing to the producing to the acting to the construction. I mean, it was so amazing on so many levels.
I mean, the Lifetime network is huge, Sean. So, I mean, I would think that's a pretty big stage to be on,
It really is. Some people call it a chick network.
No.
But it's cool. I get people from Europe go, hey, I'm watching Dying for a Baby or Cheerleader Nightmare right now, and you're doing a great job. And I think I got a woman from Ireland or something last week that was watching it, and I'm like, gee, thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. And mailbox money is always good, Matty.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we love residual checks, and Lifetime is wonderful, and I'm very happy to be a part of that.
Right on. Obviously, accolades come with the business, but how did it make you feel when the Beverly Hills Times labels you as like the rising star in acting? How did that make you feel?
It was very, very nice. I was humbled and honored. I don't know. I think they might have. I think they might have been embellishing that a little bit. But hey, I didn't write the article. I just showed up and did the interview, and whatever they want to write is great, and I'm very thankful for that.
Right on. Just like music, what would you say has been your biggest accomplishment in acting?
I think just to grow as a storyteller and an artist. I feel like there's actors, and then there's storytellers, and then there's actors that are storytellers that are artists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to be. I was watching, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. I watched it last night, Drive with Ryan Gosling.
Yes. Very good movie.
Dude. Okay. Perfect example of, first of all, he's great. But here was the deal. His inner monologue in that movie was, if you ever want to study inner monologue, watch him in that movie, because the script was the script. And I think he went to producers and said, you know what? I think inner monologue would carry this more than the lines would right here. And I watched that movie and I was so blown away by him. And his inner monologue was so strong that he didn't have to say anything in certain scenes. And it was stronger than him spewing a bunch of dialogue. And I was really blown away by that movie. If you haven't seen Drive, check it out. And this is a fairly older movie, you know, it was 2011. But storytelling, man, that's where it's at.
I have seen it, but I haven't paid attention to it to that level.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it.
That's the difference, Matty, is sometimes studying acting, you watch things differently,
mm-hmm.
you know, and it almost sometimes it can ruin it, you know, because you're not just watching it to watch a movie. You're watching it from all these different areas. And, you know, there's just such great content on TV these days and movies and that's out there at your fingertips. It's really, you can watch a master class in acting every night on Netflix or Amazon. And that's a beautiful time to be a part of that kind of media platform and be an artist, a storyteller, and an actor.
Who's an actor that you've longed to work with, that you would love to work with?
I love Josh Brolin. I feel like I love everything he does. His characters are amazing. There's so many. Of course, everybody would love to work with Brad Pitt, Ed Norton. You know, I met Brad at a rock gig somewhere, and he was just so cool. You know, I would love to work with him. There's so many. You know, of course, everybody wants to work with Meryl Streep. Hey, aim high, right?
Absolutely.
But it's incredible. Who was I watching? Who else recently? You know, the list is so long. I want to work with her more. I love her.
Maybe that day will come.
Maybe.
You and Christine are very active in the Los Angeles community. I want you to talk about some of your activities that you're involved with, including some of the charities that you hold very close to your heart.
We do. You know, my wife is amazing, and I don't know what she's doing with me, but I am super lucky. And she has always taught me how to give back and how to find something you're passionate about and immerse yourself in that. And that's been something, charity work has been something that we've been able to do together and has brought us closer together. And she's so inspiring. I don't know anybody that works harder than my wife. She is the hardest worker I know. It's very inspiring to be around. It makes you want to work harder. And it's not only on her own career, it's for other people.
Right.
And just to see what she's done with this program, Wednesday's Child, they've had between 500 and 600 inner city kids adopted over many years, of course, but go to loving homes. And she's become known for that in Los Angeles. Very inspiring. So she kind of got me, opened my eyes to that kind of philanthropy and just giving your time to something in your passion. And I've kind of infused that with my love of Harley Davidsons, you know. So I sit on the Ronnie James Dio Cancer Fund board. You know, we have a ride for Ronnie every year. I've done countless events for what's the Great Escape Ride, which is mesothelioma. Mm-hmm. I've done some events for them. It's mostly cancer based finding money for research. And I mean, can you imagine this, Matty, with the DO Cancer Foundation? If people had a saliva strip that they could get a marker for cancer, don't you think they'd be a lot more inclined to get tested?
Absolutely.
It's all about early detection. So I think that's what the DO Cancer Fund is doing with UCLA. That's where the checks we cut go to UCLA for that kind of research, is to find better screening processes for cancer.
Right on. I know you're big with canines too, and both of my dogs are rescues.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Saving canine lives, that's a big one for us. You know, they're doing some great work. What kind of dogs you got?
They're two cattle dogs. Now, we don't exactly know. I know they've got some blue heeler in them. The story with them, they both came from the South at two different times. They look like brothers from another mother.
Okay.
They're almost identical. Like, it's just weird. And how we got them, they both came from, I think, Louisiana, somewhere down there in the floods. But somehow both of these dogs found their way up to the Midwest, and I adopted both of them at two separate times. And the reason I got my second dog was because he looked identical to the first dog. And I thought, wow, I mean, could there be a chance that they're related in some way? I don't know. But yeah, they've been great. And I think all my dogs, in the last 20 some years have all been, rescue dogs. So
right on. Appreciate that.
Love my animals.
Yeah. Are those the longer haired ones with, like they have like maybe one blue eye or the real blue eye? Is that those cattle dogs?
No, neither of them have discoloration in their eyes. It's their body markings and just the way their fur is. It's just weird how identical they are and just everything about them.
Cool.
So I'll have to send you some pictures.
Yeah, send me some pictures. Yeah, I mean, back to the charity thing. We do a lot for the Orangewood Children's Home. This Great Escape ride that I'm part of. Steve McQueen died of mesothelioma, so I'm big with that one. I'm going to be leading that ride again in the fall, and hopefully we're gonna bring back the ride for Ronnie. It was supposed to be this past weekend, and that's a very important one for us. But obviously we couldn't do it right now.
Right on.
There's a love ride, and there's lots of.
Well, thank you for all your work that you do in the community, you and your wife.
Thank you, Matty.
I have family in Los Angeles area, and I'm out there all the time, so I appreciate what you guys do.
Oh, yeah? Yep. You ever been to the Rainbow for dinner?
I have not.
We got to do that.
Okay. It's on. We'll schedule that.
Okay.
I'll let you know next time I'm out there. Absolutely. What does the future hold for Sean McNabb, either with music or with acting?
Well, I'm hoping we're all going to get back to work here shortly. I'm hearing that our governor, Newsom, is trying to open the entertainment business back up. We may be one of the last states. I'm hearing other states are already, starting to open up. But he's in talks with the entertainment industry to get the motion picture and television industry back up on its feet, because there's a lot of people hurting out there that need to work, and me being one of them. We need to be back up and working. So we're hoping for July, August, September, the industry will be back up on its feet. It's going to be a different game. With screening and showing up on set and getting your temperature taken, and stuff like that. But it's all for protection. I'm hoping the touring thing can come back around, because people are always going to love music and live music, and
we need music.
Yeah, it's so healing, and I'm hoping we can get back to work with that as well, because people are we need it now more than ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sean, where can fans and followers keep up with everything that's going on with you, either in music or acting? Where would you send them?
I would go to probably my Instagram at Sean McNabb LA. My Instagram and Twitter are the same at Sean McNabb LA. Let's see, I got 3 Facebook pages. It's just my name. I've got Sean McNabb, actor, musician. I'm very easy to find. But yeah, reach out and say hi. I usually follow people back, as long as they're kind.
Right on. Sean, I'm going to give you the same opportunity that I give every big name that I have the opportunity to sit one-on-one with. And that is a message to MattyRocks listeners who are going to not only see this interview, but hear this interview around the United States and around the world. What would you like to say to them?
Well, I would like to say, everybody hang in there, take 3 deep breaths, and just center yourself. Things are going to come back around. Believe that. Don't buy into too much fear. I see a lot of people doing that. And I think fear creates stress, and I don't think that's healthy. I would say support your brother MattyRocks experience. Listen to the rock and roll, support the music, listen to the interviews, message him, tell him how much you love it, and that, you appreciate what he's doing and bringing in good guests. And I know it's a lot of work, but Matty, I want to thank you personally, and professionally, for having me on today, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed it today.
I really did.
Right on.
Yeah.
Is there anything, Sean, that I've left out? Anything you'd like to add?
Let's see. I don't think so. I think we've pretty much covered it all.
Right on.
I hope I'm going to be out there in Minnesota playing some rock gigs for you guys soon. I love my Minnesota people.
Yeah, we love the music, and we're looking forward to you getting back here.
You know what else I love about Minneapolis? The Indian Polaris Motorcycle Factory is there.
Okay.
And I got good friends there. Shout out to Taylor and Steven and Sean and Billy and all those cats at Indian Motorcycle. Thanks for a great product.
Right on. Right on. Thanks again, Sean, for taking the time out of your day to meet with me and do this Zoom interview. I wish you nothing but continued success to everything you've got going on in your music and your acting arena.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Matty, and give my best to the family, and cook up something special tonight on this Friday.
Right on. You've heard it here, MattyRocks listeners. The Zoom session interviews, MattyRocks and Sean McNabb closing out another session. Thanks again, Sean.
Thank you, Matty.
MattyRocks out.